All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of MasterClass. We are on lucky episode number 7. And happy summer solstice to those that celebrate. I know I'm a little extra grateful for this day of summer after a seemingly endless winter that we had here in the Rocky Mountain area. Anyway, for today's Masterclass episode, I am joined by Mr. Chris Shrope. Am I saying that right? Shrope?
Yes, like a quiet rope. Rope.
That's right. That's kind of a unique last name. What's the origin? Any idea?
It's Germanic,
Germanic.
mainly. Yeah, they lost the C. There used to be a C in it, but when we got off the boat in the Americas, they forgot it. So
Yeah, those silly Ellis Island people like to miss those. All right. Well, just to give you a little more of an introduction before I turn it over to you, Chris. So, you're from Model N, as we have on our title slide here, and you have deep experience defining product market fit, defining and redefining value driven conversations for a wide range of technologies. Chris has been at Model N for only a year, but has been in the pricing, channel, and revenue space for 5 years. And Chris received his MBA from the University of Colorado Boulder, Go Buffs, and is based based his expertise, based on his expertise. I'm really bad at reading. You can find Chris at the intersection of product, marketing, and sales. So 3 things to know about my buddy Chris here. 1, he's passionate about defining value. 2, he's currently focused on helping companies achieve revenue optimization and compliance. And 3, is currently an advisory board member for the Inland Ocean Coalition, for anyone who really loves the ocean. I love the ocean, but I'm a fellow landlocked inland person here in the Rocky Mountain area. You're in Denver, right? And I guess Boulder, Denver, which one?
Yeah, right in between the two.
So. Right in between, got it. So yeah, I love the ocean. At the same time, I'm a little terrified of it. I felt its power as I got body slammed in the beach doing some body surfing once, and a little freaked out by the submarine story, the lost submarine that's in the news today. That sounds like my worst nightmare, of being stuck in a submarine in the water and you're just trapped and there's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, I want to get into this, but first, since you are in the Denver area, I want to give a little shout out that we're doing a partnership leaders meetup right in your backyard there, and it's happening tonight. So anybody in the Denver metro area, head over to the Model N offices, and we're having a little channel meetup. All right, so let's get into today's topic, which is the top 5 do's and don'ts for effective rebate management. Chris, I'll turn it over to you to give a little intro of Model N as a company and then into our topic.
Yeah, sure. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I think to a certain extent, that story we've heard is incredibly saddening. And I hope we figure out the root cause, and because I think that Titanic and the story there is very powerful. But thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Let me just give you a quick, I'm going to put up on the screen here why you're all here today, the 5 do's and don'ts, but let me quickly just give you an overview of who Model N is. So Model N, we're a 20-plus-year-old software company. We help companies optimize revenue and ensure compliance for life science manufacturers and high-tech manufacturers, key innovators today. And our intelligent platform really helps power digital transformation and decision velocity. So we really try and deliver technology, a comprehensive technology that gives you visibility and control over the complexities of commercial operations and compliance. A lot of which through both all manufacturers have a deep channel go-to-market motion. We have specialists and also in-depth industry expertise, within core commercial areas, trying to help you deliver actionable insights, but also process improvement, so you can continue to sell, make money, get your products out in the world, not be bogged down by those administrative aspects. And then continuous improvement. We're here to focus on innovation, help deliver that for you, and so that you manufacturers can continue to be innovators as well. And so that's a little bit about us. But now on to today's topic. So hopefully I'll be able to break down rebates for you all, and so that you can help hopefully start capturing more value across your customers and channel partners. And I think anyone who's actually done this work will agree that there's a steep learning curve, but you can become an expert in this area pretty quickly. And so, yeah, on to the show. And so let me just, I'll first review the first, 5 do's, 5 don'ts of effective rebate management. Then we'll dive into the details. I kind of pull out some different types that you could flex and use over time. And then hopefully as time permits, we can get to some Q&A. So on to some best practices, right? As you can see here, I think it's clear for all business programs, but specifically incentives and rebates, to start with clear goals and objectives, right? So before putting together the program, clearly define what you're trying to achieve and ensure that that's aligned across the constituents, the audience, the channel partners you're going to be running the program with. This could be to increase sales volume, say I want to do a promotion on a new product, or just boost partner performance. The other one that I'd highly advise is have a robust calculation engine. I think this is essential, especially when you're dealing with rebates. It's part revenue gaining, but there's also a huge compliance aspect. So you need to track sales, track the activity, partner performance. And if you don't do this, it makes it hard to administer. It also makes it hard for you to understand, well, am I overpaying? Am I not overpaying? Am I moving the needle in my specific market? Third do is have a plan on doing enablement. Right? Invest in this early and continually, continually bring your partners through enablement activities so that they know what to sell, how to sell, what they need to do to perform and make money within your ecosystem. This could be anywhere from training to giving them, in-application guidance. But really, this is all around improving the partner experience so that they can help, help bring your business goals to life. And that's why you're putting together these incentives to begin with. I think, very closely tied to that is do communicate clearly and regularly, making sure that your channel partners and your customers understand the terms and conditions of these rebate programs you're putting together is crucial. You might have thousands of products and you might have a couple hundred programs, or it might be you've got thousands of partners and each one has their own rebate program. You might have multiple for each in different regions. And so all this can get very complex. And if you don't clearly communicate and understand what's happening, your partners won't as well. And so just getting in a mindset of being able to clearly communicate, whether it's a new program or you're just making a sheer update. An update within the quarter can be very tangible in what actually gets done from a partner perspective. And I think 5 is ensure an easy claim process. So make sure that claiming rebates is easy, simple, straightforward for your channel partners, customers, whether they're direct or indirect. If this process is complicated or too burdensome, it's probably going to discourage participation. So some do's and don'ts, I think, it goes without saying. You should be continually monitoring and trying to improve these things. And also making sure that you don't do some of these other things when managing rebates and other B2B incentives. So let me just go over the quick top 5 don'ts, and then we'll be able to pull out some more of the details as we go along. So I'd say number 1, don't operate in a silo. I think if you're creating rebates in a disconnected organization or organizations that aren't talking to each other, this is a situation where pricing doesn't know what marketing and sales is doing, right? And so now you're running the risk of not getting the results you wanted, or maybe you're going in a negative margin and actually losing money. And so that's one. Don't overcomplicate it. I think it's having these programs is super beneficial to move the needle. But you don't want to make it overcomplicated. I'd say aim for a relative proportion so that the complexity of the program matches the complexity of the behavior you're trying to pull out from the market. Number three, I'd say is don't overpromise. I think this is important in general across all life, but specifically when you're also dealing with the channel and your partners. You want to be realistic about how you offer rebates, ensure that you're able to deliver on those. And then, because overpromising ultimately it's a disappointment and erodes trust and loyalty, and that's not what you're trying to do in the market. 4, don't forget about compliance. I think
Oh, I thought you said don't do compliance.
Oh
no,
don't forget about compliance.
Don't forget about compliance.
If you don't do compliance, you might I might not. These might be orange stripes and not blue stripes.
Yeah.
And I'll be behind bars. And so with any of these programs, I'd say know the laws, know the regulations. I think from an IFRS and an SEC perspective, they demand that you recognize revenue net of rebates or have a contra revenue. So taking into this account is super important. And then also don't set and forget. So hopefully that was useful for everybody. And just to ground us in our discussion today, I just wanted to quickly review some research that we've recently done to get a fresh perspective. So this report, Leverage Data Management Solutions to Connect and Drive Channel Revenue, Model N Commission, Forrester, to uncover how to best connect and drive channel revenue. We surveyed 300 executives in the high-tech manufacturing space. I'd encourage you all to check out the report, but some things I wanted to highlight quickly that will ground our discussion. So after asking executives in their organization what they felt like would be the most valuable for helping them optimize channel revenue, 67% said that the channel partner portal, like what Impartner provides, would be valuable to extremely valuable in helping them drive a channel revenue, but also helping them connect the channel teams, the revenue teams, and their whole ecosystem that they're cultivating. And so Forrester also went on to say is that more than just a partner portal is being able to connect other aspects of commercial operations within that as well. And so this is areas, as you can see here on the chart, MDFs or market development funds, rebates, all types of incentives, channel management, and the channel data management practice. In fact, 3 in 5 said that automated rebate management would be valuable to extremely valuable in helping them optimize revenue and ultimately help them track towards that desired market behavior they're trying to work through. So it is by executives, this is an important area to consider. Additionally, when we look at the price waterfall analysis, or when we track our pocket price or our pocket margin, we can see that incentives and specifically rebates account for a significant amount of revenue erosion if not properly managed. So we've done a really great job building these programs, right? We're trying to track towards business success, but ultimately this could be cutting into our margin. And so you want to be able to reward the channel, but you need to validate it against data, POS. And if you don't do these things correctly, this can lead to overpayments in the order of 2% on average. And so I think breaking down the silos, you can quickly see rebates is a core area here. And then what can it achieve? So for anyone who hasn't embarked on this and is looking to start rebate programs internally, I would suggest, look at these. What do you as an organization, what are your priorities? And then say, well, how can I build my program to match that? Do I want to increase deal values by 2 to 5% on the front end? Do I want to reduce or eliminate overpayments in the channel by 20%? Do I want to reduce overall program costs up to 50%? Or do I just want to enable more strategic pricing decisions and drive financial compliance? And so I think ask yourself these questions. What is my priority in the next year? And how would I want to build or adjust my current program to exceed?
Yes.
And so go ahead.
I just said yes to all those, please.
Especially in this economy, right?
Yeah.
And so now that we kind of like, we know rebates now to a relative amount. We know they're powerful, but let's kind of like, why use them, when to use them. And so let's kind of dive into that. So quickly, I just want to ground us. So rebates are a type of incentive. And so an incentive is really anything that any mechanism that you can use to motivate or encourage market behavior, right? And I would say, rebate is, you can see, is the first one here underneath the umbrella. And this is really, if you kind of think about it, it's a partial refund to an entity. This could be a company or an individual based on meeting certain criteria. Typically in B2B, it's a lot of rebates are focused at the company level, at the entity level, but this can be flexible enough to drive any type of business outcome. And then if you don't, if you're not using rebates or have rebates as a program today, you might be being held back, right? We saw some of those benefits that Trevor wants so much from having these types of programs. And I think if you don't have rebates in place today, think about how with rebates, you can drive better commitment, better alignment, prioritization, and accountability across your business processes. And so I'm not going to go in too much depth here. But what I wanted, because what I want to do is I want to start talking about these types of rebates. And so when you are working and putting together rebates, like I said, don't operate in a silo. If you do that, I mean, clearly look at here, look at the different departments that are just have their hand in, you've got channel marketing or ops that is setting up the programs, having the strategy right on the front end, working with the partners. And then you're going to have a rebate analyst or the channel manager who's going to be managing the transaction, doing the calculations, understanding what the payments are. And then there's really the finance and then the controller that's really saying, okay, we're approving payment and we're distributing these payments. And do I need to disperse them? Is this a known entity that I have a billing relationship with? Or is it somebody I got to send a check to or potentially a gift card? Or how am I going to reconcile the points? And so you can see here 3 different departments that are all being kind of pulled together through rebates, and a key reason why you should not operate in a silo. Additionally, as well, if you run one rebate program, that's fine. If you're a global entity and you have geographies all around the world, you got thousands of SKUs, and then you might want to have, and you might just have, that's one program in all these areas that you have to account for, each of which has its own performance goals, compliance goals, and then you have to pay these out on the time scale that makes sense, but quarterly, it's fairly standard. And then you add in more rebates programs on top of that, or other incentive programs. And this can all spiral out of control, which really means, this is why I recommend having a robust calculation engine. If you're running all this in Excel, hopefully things don't go wrong. And so now that I've kind of talked about the details, right? Let's talk about some of the fun stuff. So what are the types of rebates that we should be kind of focusing on? And I'll kind of start from the most common to some of the ones that are used for special use cases. So one of the most common forms of rebates and simplest forms of rebates is the volume rebate. This is really to help stop overpromising, right? Essentially, it's based on saying, well, this is your intended purchase, but what are you actually purchasing? So you invoice at a higher price than the actual price, the quoted price, and then there's really a difference that falls out from there. And so let me just lay, like, why use volume commitments, right? So volume commitments is the issue. Let me just give you a quick rundown on why volume rebates is the best solution potentially for your business. So you think about any sales organization, right? Right out the gate, you're going to start discounting. There might not be a lot of control. And so different sales reps in different regions might have, it's a little bit like the Wild West, right? You might have two similar customers with similar volume commitments, but they're getting different discounts. Why is that? Because you're not controlling it, and maybe is a one-off deal by deal, but it's not a controlled process, right? So just using discounts or volume discounts creates challenges. And also, yes, you want to have segmented pricing, but to a certain degree, you want to control and have some reliability across your customers and channel on this. If I buy this, this is what I'll get back, right? And this creates transparency and trust in your system. So to get away from just random discounts, you can institute step pricing. So where you have a volume curve that says, if you buy 1 to 100,000, we'll quote you this price. This will be the invoice price as well. If you go above that, there will be a lower price. Now, this is great, but what ends up happening is oftentimes you'll get caught in the situation where there will be upfront commitments, and then you might end up losing margin or not making the money that you figured. So then give them an upfront discount for production that'll come out in a year from now. Maybe 18 months later, you look back on this deal, say you gave them a 20% volume discount on 1 million components. But the actuals is they only bought 250,000. But so did they deserve that discount, that volume discount? If they committed to 1 million and they only bought a quarter of that? Likely not. And so this gets us into a pretty tricky situation. And so what I would say is volume rebates is a really great way to kind of shift it. So it says if basically it's based on what you actually purchase versus what you commit to. So there's the quantity, which is basically the order quantity. It's not cumulative quantity. There's the price. There's the invoice price, which is higher than the actual price. And then you would use the difference. I have a little table here and below that kind of shows the difference in how you would charge based on the quantity that's produced. So hopefully that's useful. Let me quickly just go into the ship and debit process. This is also sometimes called a discount rebate. And so this is a special use case in high tech, and but it's used a lot of times. And let me just tell you the way it really works. So essentially, this is an agreement. You're going to have a manufacturer working with distributors, stocking distributors. The distributor buys your electronic components, right? They buy it at $1 a component. Now, time goes on, they've stocked it, things change in the market. Maybe the distributor needs to win a big deal. It's a competitive deal. They need to lower that price, right? Maybe you lowered your prices. And so then the distributor, how are they going to offload the inventory? The other thing too is there maybe just because of the sheer rate of innovation, new products cause older products to lower in value. Whatever the case is, the distributor will ask for a concession, right? And they'll say, hey, I need to get this deal done. And the manufacturer and the distributor work together and says, okay, for every component that you sell, let's just say that the actual value is 90 cents and you bought it for $1. After they win the deal, the distributor ships out all the components. They then file a ship and debit claim. And the ship and debit claim is essentially, it's the number, that's the quantity multiplied by the difference of the invoice price and the actual end price. And then that generates the debit or the credit that needs to be paid out and dispersed to the distributor. And so very useful and somewhat of a tricky situation to get yourself into. And then let me just go over price masking rebates as well. So price masking rebates is a very interesting use case. Specifically in high tech, right? So typically a high tech manufacturer works with an OEM and an original design manufacturer on specific designs for components that will go into a laptop or an integrated circuit or what have you. During that design process before production and manufacturing, they'll say, okay, the high tech manufacturer, say the component manufacturer, says to the OEM, if you buy these components from me, then you will get this specific rebate back on every single item or on that quantity. Now, this is all fine and dandy. But what happens is the OEM typically doesn't buy from the component manufacturer. They're buying through a contract manufacturer because the contract manufacturer is the one who's assembling, they're gathering all the pieces, putting together, and doing the testing as well. And the contract manufacturer also fulfills orders for tons of other OEMs, right? And so you don't want to give that very low price to the contract manufacturer because they weren't a part of the design process. They're just helping to build the product on behalf of the OEM. And so the contract manufacturer will buy it at the invoice price. They don't know the back-end rebate that you have in place with the OEM, but the OEM has to purchase from the contract manufacturer and essentially request the rebate. And this is a way for essentially price masking is a really great way. It was essentially devised to avoid self-induced downward pricing pressure in a competitive or transparent market, right? And if you let a low price be known in the market, and rightfully so, it'll cause market erosion, and it potentially could cause some implosion, at least at a product line level. So this allows you to quote, invoice at a high price and quote at a low price. Oh, wow. So I have just realized I've gone over a little bit. And I did have some additional rebates I wanted to kind of talk to you all about. There's indirect customer rebates. There are growth rebates, which is a simple variation off of volume. There are retention rebates where, say, I want you to buy every single month for a year. And if you don't, all your rebate benefits fall off a cliff. And so this can, maybe some customers have a lumpy or an irregular purchase pattern. And so maybe you want to smooth it out. And this is a great way to do that as well. There's mixed rebates where you can essentially take different rebate types and layer them. Or say I want to drive a particular product sale in this region or to this end customer. And then there's conditional rebates, which essentially it could be any rebate type. It just has a condition. And oftentimes we see this in high tech where you don't get you're not eligible for the rebate unless you meet the condition of sending the POS or inventory back to me as a manufacturer so I can validate. So those are some types. We do have, I know I've reviewed all the different types with you here. This is just a quick, I guess, chart for you to look at to say, well, if I want to build a rebate type, how might I want to define the term or the condition? So if it's a flat amount, it might be, okay, well, you get 100 loyalty points for every Catalyst 9000 you buy, right? If it's, it could be attribute based. So it says, you'll get 2% back on every single product that has greater than 500 gigabytes or 192 ports, right? Or it could be a sliding scale or it could be a bundle. Now the bundle stuff is tricky. I'm not going to go into that now. That's like 501 rebate class. But I did just want to show this up here. Different companies use them differently. And it really depends. You want to be particular on how you, and specific on how you demarcate the T and the C for each one of those rebate types. So I know this was, hopefully this was useful. If you have questions, I do want to answer them. And I encourage you to submit them. I just want to now just go into some key takeaways. And, ultimately the key takeaway is, leverage incentive management solutions like rebates to drive channel behavior or customer behavior. And so as we look to a key takeaway here, now that you're familiar with all the different rebate types, we've said, well, why to use them, when to use them. This is a quick just orientation, right? Take a balanced approach. Don't overcomplicate things. Start with the end in mind. What is my objective? Right? Am I trying to increase overall volume? Volume rebates, great. Growth rebates, great. Am I trying to hide a low price point in the market from my ecosystem channel partners? Price masking rebates are a great option. And you also want to think about what is the complexity of behavior and what is then I need to match that to the complexity of the program. And I think if you keep some of those things in mind, you should be in a really great spot. And so I guess without further ado, we're back at the first slide of today. The top 5 things to do and the top 5 things to avoid in an effective rebate management program and I guess actively managing that program. So I think that's pretty much everything I had today. Before we go into questions, I do want to say, one of our clients, Advanced Micro Devices, they've used us for both rebate management, channel data management. We have a webinar on our website. We also have a customer case study on how they've been able to mount success using these technologies in partnership with Model N to help basically drive more value, capture value across their customers in their channel ecosystem. So I think that's really all I had, Trevor. And I know I kind of went through that quickly.
No, great. My key takeaway is I'm glad Impartner doesn't do this ourselves. That sounds way complex. It was way more involved as you went through all those slides than I imagined with all the rebates. So happy that we, as Impartner, partner with you guys at Model N, that you can take care of all that for any of our customers' needs, because it's a very deep subject, and there's a reason why you have an entire company dedicated to it, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we hear from manufacturers who don't do this today.
Mm.
They say, well, I'd love to. We know Rebates is a very powerful tool.
Mm.
The thing that holds them back is we don't know how to manage it. The administration is so hard. And I think I think powerful tool, but I think, it is something you don't want to take on lightly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have a little bit of time. Well, at least we'll make up time. There may not be a time in the half hour, but we'll do a couple of questions here. So Jane from the chat says, how could I use rebates successfully in the negotiation process?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Yeah, I think it's a great question. Actually, so we talked about the volume rebate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of blindly discounting, or then you can institute step pricing, and then really evolving out of that into a volume rebate, and having that type of process in place is really great. Additionally, so now you're at the negotiation table. You get your sales rep. Maybe you get an RFQ in or something like that, and instead, I really need the customer saying that they need a 10% discount to get this deal over the line. Or your sales rep, is really pleading with you. And, you might go to the deal desk, you might look at the numbers, say, oh yeah, a 10% discount on this. We can do that. You might approve that automatically. Now, the issue is, though, the customer only needed 10% to get the deal over the line. There might have been a 3% rebate on this same product on the back end. So now you've effectively given them 10% discount and then 3% on the back end. So it's 13%. What you can do, what's really powerful is having that information in the cockpit, right? Being able to, when you're quoting, when you're negotiating, when you're contracting, to say, you need the 10%. I see you have 3% on the back end. Let's give you 7%. And now you save yourself an extra 3 points on margin.
Interesting. All right. Let's see. I think we have one more, if I can navigate this correctly. Oh, here we go. So didn't really talk too much about the CDM part of it, but what are the key benefits of the CDM in a partner portal?
Yeah. No, I think it's, there was a little section on CDM. I think on the Forrester, and then also this comes into the administration of the rebate program, right? This is how are you going to get that inventory, POS, transaction level information. You got to load the data into your system, and then then do some fancy magic. Or you have a system like channel data management, which essentially takes that whole entire burden of managing channel data, right? Because you're running rebate programs all through all your partners. They're sending you information that's likely coming from their PR, you're on the same PRM, but from their CR, and there might be ERP, like some ERP information, like all that stuff of using someone else's data to inform your revenue process can get really messy. And so, I think CDM, the benefits is that you can really standardize your data and validate it, so that when you are going to calculate, you can calculate, validate, and ensure that you're not making those overpayments. And that's where I think it really see it kind of coming into the mix there. Now you can also see, like, what is my excess inventory in the channel? Do I want to run a market price program so that my distributors can offload inventory? Because the more the distributors offload inventory, the more they can buy from me as a manufacturer. So yeah, just one way to think about that.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up here, as we're just a bit over time. Appreciate you coming on here, Chris, and dispelling all this knowledge. I definitely learned plenty, and we have some comments saying good job. So validation that it was useful information, it sounds like. And I know that, whoever couldn't, we had some LinkedIn streaming issues, so hopefully people can watch at least the beginning that they may have missed on the recording. But anyway, one more time, just wanted to send my appreciation. Glad we are partners with you guys, and good talking with you.
Yeah, looking forward to that event later today. No, anytime. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I wish I could jump on a plane and get out there and meet with you guys, but oh well. I'll hang out in the Utah Valley for a bit. All right. Well, till next time. We'll see you.
Thank you.